Some teams go limp at the prospect of playing spoiler, but last Sunday the Cincinnati Bengals were ready to do more than just grin and bear it. The Cleveland Browns needed a win to clinch the AFC Central title, but the Bengals displayed some upsetting methods. The usually well-protected Brian Sipe was sacked 6 times by a ferocious Cincinnati pass rush. Sipe was soon committing mistakes, and number 44, Ray Griffin, eagerly took advantage. Griffin's 52-yard touchdown run provided some speed and agility to what was essentially an intensely physical defensive battle. Early in the game, Cleveland safety Tom Darden, number 27, struck one of the first blows. Pat McInally, number 87, was the recipient of Darden's not-so-friendly persuasion. The Bengals wide receiver lay motionless for a seeming eternity before being taken off the field. But this story had a happy ending as McInally returned in the second half, and he returned with a vengeance. McInally and Jack Thompson combined for a 59-yard scoring play that gave the Bengals a 24-17 lead. But while McInally's reappearance produced one kind of emotional peak, Brian Sipe calmly set about scaling another. With over 300 yards passing on the day, Sipe joined Joe Namath and Dan Fouts as the only quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards in a single season. A pair of Sipe touchdown passes to Ricky Feature, number 83, helped spoil once and for all the Bengals' chance to play spoiler. The 27-24 win provided the Browns with an uplifting experience that few thought they would enjoy this season. Their first playoff berth since 1972, and the right to call themselves division champions. Dick Vermeil was mindful of where Texas Stadium's scoreboard was located. With an NFC East title at stake, his Eagles didn't have to win. But a loss by 25 points or more would give that title to Dallas, and the Cowboys were primed to grab it for themselves. Danny White demonstrated a hot hand right from the outset. Number 26, Preston Pearson, caught one of 4 White touchdown passes. Tony Hill, number 80, caught another. And in the process, Hill demonstrated that playing in the Eagles' secondary was not the afternoon's only hazardous on-field occupation. Things also kept going out of focus for the Eagles' offense, and especially for Harold Carmichael, number 17. Carmichael's NFL record of at least 1 reception in 127 straight games finally ended, as Dallas applied strong-arm tactics in every phase of their defense. The right arm of Randy White, number 54, was a veritable Thor's hammer. White not only outmuscled the Eagles, he outran them as well. On this pass play, White vacated the line of scrimmage to bring down Scott Fitzke, number 81. Dallas had seemingly caught the one-time division frontrunners from behind as they held the necessary 25-point margin early in the fourth quarter. But it was at this point that Ron Jaworski and the Eagles came to life. Jaworski's 30-yard touchdown pass to number 83 Rodney Parker ignited the 17-point final stands outburst that was concluded by number 31 Wilbert Montgomery. The Eagles had lost their way to their first division title in 20 years. Dallas's victory left them with a wild card berth. While the Eagles disprove the football adage, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing, they'll seek to prove it again in the playoffs. Upset. It was a word which 7 AFC teams wanted no part of in the season's final week. Playoff hopes of teams like the Houston Oilers were dependent on avoiding upsets, but it is a service which the Minnesota Vikings have learned to accommodate. A pair of Tommy Kramer to Joe Sensor touchdowns built a 13-3 Viking lead, an imposing threat to the Oilers' season. Houston instinctively turned to its one-man wrecking crew, number 34, Earl Campbell. Campbell's fourth 200-yard game of the year raised his season total to 1,934, a marked second to O.J. Simpson's 2003. Yet Campbell's efforts were not enough, causing the Oilers to turn to the familiar passing tandem of Ken Stabler and number 87, Dave Casper. The former Raider combination connected for 120 yards and helped guide Houston to a 20-16 victory. The Oilers' win clinched a wild card berth against Oakland, and Houston hopes the Snake and the Ghost can haunt their old team. While the Oilers were able to escape elimination, upset was also on the mind of the Buffalo Bills. Recently, the 49ers have been giant killers, but against the Bills, the 49ers were rudely brought back to earth. The 49ers' inability to negotiate the rain-drenched field continued to hurt them as this errant snap from center turned into a waterlogged safety. Despite the unpredictability of the day's quagmire, the Bills were not afraid to pass. Quarterback Joe Ferguson consistently looked for one of his sure-handed receivers, like Jerry Butler, number 80. San Francisco countered the Bills' offensive with number 49, Earl Cooper, and he made the league's best defense look as soggy as the field. While the 49ers broke occasional long plays, the Bills remained patient and employed ball control drives. But when Joe Ferguson looked deep, Jerry Butler was again open, this time for 6 points. The Bills slipped to an 18-13 fourth quarter lead, yet the 49ers stubbornly fought back. With 5 seconds remaining, quarterback Joe Montana heaved a Hail Mary. Quadruple coverage made sure his prayers were never answered. The Bills ended the season with an 11-5 mark and their first division championship since 1966. Division titles and playoffs are a familiar story for the Oakland Raiders, a team which makes a habit of postseason play. Oakland's path to the playoffs was clear. By beating the New York Giants, they would clinch at least a wild card berth. Throughout the year, much of the Raiders' success has corresponded with a superb performance by their defensive line. And against the Giants, the trend continued. The constant pressure by the Raider front four denied Giant quarterback Scott Brunner ball possession all afternoon, as the Raider defense was responsible for 3 Giant fumbles, a forced interception, and a blocked Dave Jennings punt. As the Raider defense did its share of moving the football, its offense provided more of the same. Cognizant of the Giants' list of injured players, Quarterback Jim Plunkett looked for number 21, Cliff Branch. And the veteran's big play talents left the beleaguered Giants baffled. While the Giants were very charitable all afternoon, they kept with the holiday spirit by showing that it is indeed better to give than receive. Number 31, Derek Jensen's kickoff return clinched the game at 33-17. Perhaps with such a disappointing year, Santa will bring the Giants a few good draft choices. The Raiders hope he remembers the tickets to Super Bowl 15. The NFC West champion Atlanta Falcons and the wild card Los Angeles Rams are both in the playoffs. But in Los Angeles, the Falcons' Super Bowl express was derailed. Sporting a 9-game winning streak, Atlanta quarterback Steve Bartkowski appeared to be steering the Falcons to victory number 13. His 2 touchdown passes, one to number 85 Alfred Jackson and one to rookie sensation Junior Miller, gave Atlanta a 14-3 halftime lead. Choking on the Falcons' dust, the Rams' offense got out of the pits and back onto the track with help from Gerald Thomas, number 33. The rookie halfback gained 144 yards for his second 100-yard performance in as many starts. At the end of 4 quarters, the score was tied at 17, and the effects of absorbing 60 minutes of punishment, as well as dishing it out, were obvious. In the overtime, a weakened Falcon team was ready to fall, and a blitzing number 51, Joe Harris, delivered the final crushing blow. The Rams recovered the Bartkowski fumble, and kicker Frank Corral, who had missed 3 of 4 previous attempts, ended the contest 7 minutes into the overtime. The 20-17 Ram win was right out of the young Falcons' book of last-minute victories, and sweet revenge for Los Angeles after a 13-10 defeat earlier this season. Youth is definitely not the key word in New Orleans, as this 25-year-old Saint fan has aged far beyond her years. A result of New Orleans' 1980 season. With a chance to ruin New England's season, the Saints pulled out all the stops and went in front 10-0. But the Patriots were fighting for a playoff spot, and quarterback Matt Cavanaugh responded by throwing for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. New England went on to win 38-27. However, a San Diego victory on Monday night eliminated the Patriots, who many predicted would be Super Bowl contenders. The Detroit Lions, who led their division throughout most of the season, were another team unable to hide from the embarrassment of not making the playoffs. But against the Packers, it was Bubba Baker, number 60, who forced Lynn Dickey to look for a place to hide. Baker trapped Dickey 3 times, giving the Lion defensive end a total of 17 sacks for the season. Inspired by his play, Baker's teammates decapitated the Packer offense. While the Lion defense stymied the Green Bay attack, quarterback Gary Danielson used his one-man attack to generate Detroit's offense. Billy Sims' reception set up his own 1-yard touchdown run, as number 20 proved once again that he is responsible for putting the bite back into the Detroit Lions. But for Detroit to win, they cannot rely solely on Sims. Gary Danielson must match his early season performance more often. Against Green Bay, he did, and Detroit won easily 24-3. The Lions finished second behind Minnesota in the NFC Central Division. But their disappointment was eased somewhat by the fact that 1980 was Detroit's first winning season in 8 years. The Miami Dolphins, on the other hand, were struggling to gain their 9th winning season in 10 years against the New York Jets. David Woodley's 16-yard touchdown pass to Duriel Harris, number 82, gave Miami a 10-7 second quarter lead. But that's as close as the Dolphins would come to a winning season. Woodley threw 2 interceptions against the Jets. One returned 71 yards for a touchdown by Darrell Ray, number 28. Ray's score boosted the Jets to a 24-17 win, ending the season for two teams that started 1980 with high hopes, but finished stumbling far beneath their aspirations. Even a plea to Old St. Nick could not prevent the Seahawks from getting coal in their stockings as the Broncos dealt them their 9th straight defeat. Denver has been known in recent years for its brutal defense in general and its punishing linebackers in particular, as shown when backup quarterback Sam Adkins, number 12, suffered Excedrin headache number 57, otherwise known as Tom Jackson. Zorn, number 10, returned to the game, and this less than heroic pass to Jim Jodat made the final score respectable. The Seahawks were expected to be contenders this year, but injuries to key players deflated their once high-flying offense. Matt Robinson's touchdown pass to Riley Odoms helped ease the Broncos to a 25-17 win. Denver evened its record at 8-8, but missed the playoffs for the first time since 1976. Baltimore's inability to win at home almost rivaled Seattle's, and a season-ending loss to Kansas City brought their record on their home turf to 1-7. The Chiefs' J.T. Smith, number 86, burned Baltimore for 2 touchdowns, one on a pass from Bill Kenny, the other in his more familiar role as the best punt returner in pro football. Behind 21-0, the Colts broke loose for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, one of them coming on this Burt Jones to Roger Carr pass. This outburst of points exhausted Baltimore's offense, and Kansas City settled matters as Bill Kenny, number 9, combined with Henry Marshall for a 75-yard touchdown. Kenny passed for 316 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Chiefs finished the season 8-8, their best record in 7 years. With the Cardinals and Redskins playing out the string, O.J. Anderson wound up with 122 yards in the number 2 spot among NFC rushers, behind Walter Payton. But when it comes to catching the ball, Pat Tilley, he ain't. The Cardinals had minus 12 yards passing, while Washington's Joe Theismann threw for 260 yards, including a 54-yard touchdown to Art Monk. Theismann threw for 3 touchdowns in all in the 31-7 victory. The Redskins lacked a great running back and won only 6 games this year. The Chicago Bears do not lack a great running back. Walter Payton is now the NFL's 4th leading rusher of all time, behind the incomparable Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, and Franco Harris. Payton has attained this eminence in only 6 years, and his 1,460 yards this season enabled him to win his 5th consecutive NFC rushing title. Tampa Bay's quarterback Doug Williams has often seemed lost in a purple haze this year. But against the Bears, his strong arm gave the Bucs a ray of hope. But even as number 12 threw for 350 yards to rally his teammates, Tampa Bay's golden opportunities turned to lead. Chicago's Doug Plank, number 46, recovered the fumble to protect a 1-point lead in the fourth quarter. With less than 4 minutes remaining, Williams zeroed in on Jimmy Giles. But it was the Bucs who came up with nothing as Doug Plank again wound up with the ball. With 40 seconds left, Chicago's 14-13 win was preserved when Garo Yepremian's field goal attempt was blocked. Yepremian is the 9th leading scorer in NFL history, but his fate on this day was welded with that of the Buccaneers. The team that had gone from worst to first had completed the cycle, with 1979's victory vocals becoming 1980's losers' laments.